don't have the agenda up yet.
Apparently not.
It works.
Oh.
Go by that.
All right, we all set?
Yes.
Everything's actually working tonight?
So far.
All right, good evening. I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Hampton Township Council for Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. We'll start with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Blackburn?
Present.
Ms. Fritsch?
Present.
Mr. Midgley?
Present.
Mr. Shuley?
Present.
Dr. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Speakman?
Present.
All right, first item on the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting held Wednesday, December 13th, 2023, the organization meeting held Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024, and the special meeting and agenda meeting held Wednesday, January 10th, 2024?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Blackburn?
Favor.
Ms. Fritsch?
Favor.
Mr. Midgley?
Favor.
Mr. Shuley?
Favor.
Dr. Johnson?
Favor. All right, next item is citizens' agenda matters. If anyone has anything that they would like to address to council, please step to the microphone and state your name and address.
Hi, my name's Al Whirling, lifelong resident of Allison Park. I live at 2885 Talakega Road. And I'm having a problem trying to understand if I did the right thing 10 days ago. I was outside listening for screech owls, and I saw headlights in my neighbor's property, and I walked to see what was going on, and I saw 2 adults and 10 or 11 kids running into a building, so I called 911 and explained what I saw. And 10 minutes later, the police called me back and said they checked it out and everything was okay. This was at 2:30 in the morning, and I thought that was kind of strange. Did I do the right thing?
I'd say that's probably a question for Chief Valakovich.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not good to approach people that you don't know and confront them. So that's what we're here for. You called 911, we responded, we investigated it and determined that everything was all right. So, yeah.
I mean, you hear about human trafficking all the time. I was just,
Yeah.
if I see something, call somebody.
If you see something, report it. And it's best to report it when it's occurring, not like 12 hours later and there's nothing there for us to take a look at. So when you see it, call.
Okay, doing my job. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Whirling. Does anyone else have anything for citizens' agenda matters? All right, then we'll move on to administration. The first item is the proclamations recognizing the service of Joe Doherty and Rock Kernick to the Township of Hampton. I'll go ahead. I'm going to read the first one. All right, a proclamation of the Township of Hampton. A proclamation by the Council of the Township of Hampton, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, recognizing the community and public service of Dr. Joseph T. Doherty as a member of the Township Council. Whereas Dr. Joseph T. Doherty began his public service as a council member with the Township of Hampton on January 6, 2020. And whereas Dr. Doherty also served in various roles with the Township Council as a delegate to the Allegheny League of Municipalities, liaison to and member of the Business Roundtable, and as an alternate delegate to the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors. And whereas Dr. Doherty was instrumental in promoting and providing a bipartisan council public service-based agenda, and whereas Dr. Doherty, as a member of council, provided steady and consistent leadership in the management and implementation of numerous township policies and programs, now therefore be it proclaimed that the Council of the Township of Hampton wishes to place upon the minutes of this January 24th, 2024 meeting their sincerest appreciation and thanks to Dr. Doherty for his service to the citizens of the Township of Hampton as a member of the Township Council, proclaimed this day, 24th day of January 2024. Thank you.
Thanks,
Joe, real quick before take a few pictures. I have a second proclamation that was also for a gentleman who served on Township Council recently. This is a proclamation of the Council of the Township of Hampton, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, recognizing the community and public service of Richard Rock O. Kernick as a member of Township Council. Whereas Richard O. Kernick began his public service as a council member with the Township of Hampton on January 3, 2022, and whereas Mr. Kernick also served in various roles with Township Council as a delegate to the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors, liaison to the Hampton Shaler Water Authority, and as an alternate delegate to the North Hills Council of Governments, and whereas Mr. Kernick was instrumental in promoting and providing a bipartisan council public service-based agenda, and whereas Mr. Kernick, as a member of council, provided steady and consistent leadership in the management and implementation of numerous township policies and programs. Now therefore be proclaimed that the Council of the Township of Hampton wishes to place upon the minutes of this January 2024 meeting, their sincerest appreciation and thanks to Mr. Kernick for his service to the citizens of the Township of Hampton as a member of council, and of course it's proclaimed this day. And a copy of this will be sent, well, the actual original will be sent to Mr. Kernick, who could not be with us this evening.
All right, before we get pictures, could I get a motion to adopt the proclamations as read this evening?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Fritsch?
Favor.
Mr. Midgley?
Favor.
Mr. Sholey?
Favor.
Ms. Blackburn?
Favor.
Dr. Johnson?
Favor.
See you later, Joe. Congratulations. That's me. Believe it or not.
Well, that's a perfect segue for me to say, please handle the next item on
I'll
the
be
agenda.
more than happy to. The song should have been Hallelujah by now. Okay, now anyway. Next item on the agenda is the swearing in of Ryan R. Jarosky as municipal manager. As you know, this is Magistrate Swan who will do the honors, and Mr. Jarosky is, of course, here this evening. And with that, right there's great.
All right, Ryan, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Ryan Jarosky.
I, Ryan Jarosky,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge
and that I will discharge
the duties of municipal manager
the duties of municipal manager
in the Township of Hampton,
in the Township of Hampton,
Allegheny County,
Allegheny County,
with fidelity.
with fidelity. Thank you.
Now, for those of you who don't know, that's people out there, sorry, everybody here does. Ryan has been kind of shadowing me now since November the 6th, and frankly, in the last couple of weeks, he has been pretty much assuming a lot of the duties of what I have as township manager. I am, I guess, technically, on records purposes, the township manager until midnight of February the 1st. However, I think it's kind of crazy that the person who knows what to do right now is here right now, as soon as he's done getting his picture taken, should sit out in the audience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something I never thought I was going to be able to do. I'm going to go out and sit in the audience next to my wife. I just thought someone you were doing that. You know, the very first meeting, Janet, we sat. You know where I started?
Oh, you want me up there also?
John, the year before you were born?
Thank you.
Ryan's getting set. I've get to do as many times I'm going to do this. Sorry. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Vince, we'll see you. My pleasure, sir. Hello, young lady. Thank you. Hey, Colleen, we'll see you tomorrow. Jerry? Thanks again. Ryan? Come up. Don't throw my name plate or whatever. Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll move on to item C, and Ryan, I'll let you take that.
Sure. The resolution before you tonight is the approval of Gateway Engineers' rates for the 2024. The rates, Gateway is served as the township's municipal engineer, specializing currently in civil and site engineering mostly for the past 36 years. Their rates that they're proposing represent a 3.7% increase over 2023. The one point I would make specifically with Gateway, but most of our engineering consultants, well over probably 60% of their rates are reimbursed to the township because they're part of development reviews or property owners making improvements to their properties that are further require their review. So with that, it's my recommendation that council adopt a resolution establishing the 2024 rates for Gateway Engineers.
Did anyone have any questions? Resolution number, please.
1093.
All right, then can I get a motion to adopt Resolution 1093, establishing the 2024 rates for engineering services for Gateway Engineers?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Midgley?
Favor.
Mr. Shuley?
Favor.
Ms. Blackburn?
Favor.
Ms. Fritsch?
Favor.
Dr. Johnson?
Favor. Next item, please.
The remaining two items for action are sort of interrelated. They're both contracts for auditing services. Mar Dutzl, this first item is a 3-year professional services contract for Mar Dutzl to do the auditing and financial reports for the Township of Hampton, fiscal years 23, 24, and 25. As Mr. Lochner indicated at the agenda meeting, Mar Dutzl, even though I've never worked with them directly, I can tell you they're the preeminent public sector auditing firm in Pennsylvania. They've done Jerry, they've been our auditor for what, 20 plus years at this point? Okay.
Longer than me.
The 3-year contract, the cost goes from $34,900 for fiscal year 23 up to $37,025. That's a 6% increase over 3 years. But my recommendation, my strong recommendation is that council award a 3-year professional services contract to Mar Dutzl to do the township's audit over the next 3 years.
Any questions? All right, then can I get a motion to award the 3-year professional services contract to Mar Dutzl for auditing and financial reporting services for the Township of Hampton for the fiscal years of 23, 24, and 25?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Shuley?
Favor.
Ms. Blackburn?
Favor.
Ms. Fritsch?
Favor.
Mr. Midgley?
Favor.
Dr. Johnson?
Favor. And for item E, can I get a motion to award a 3-year professional services contract to Mar Dutzl for auditing and financial reporting services for the Northampton and Hampton No. 1 Allison Park Volunteer Fire Departments, also for the fiscal years of 2023, 24, and 25?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Blackburn?
Favor.
Ms. Fritsch?
Favor.
Mr. Midgley?
Favor.
Mr. Shuley?
Favor.
Dr. Johnson?
Favor. All right, next item on the agenda is the North Hills Council of Governments report. Our reorganization meeting was held last week and otherwise consisted of routine business. But I am happy to report that we had 3 bid openings recently, and all 3 of them had several bids that were within the estimates of the projects. So that's been a change from what we've seen for about the last year and a half, so I'm hoping this is a new trend. Anyone have any questions about the North Hills COG? All right, Water Authority monthly report. Anything to add? Any questions? All right, Engineers monthly report. Is there anything to add?
No, there's nothing to add unless there's questions.
Does not appear so. Legal Counsel monthly report.
Nothing to add.
Did anyone have any questions? All right, Controller's monthly report.
I'm still writing it.
Oh, goodness. Does that mean you have nothing you want to share, or
No,
lots
no,
that
no.
you want to share?
No, we're fine. Going to do a little bit of a recap on the general fund summary. This is going to be for the year end 2023. Operating revenues were 4.1% over budget, or approximately $641,000. Real estate was $46,600 over budget, 600 over budget, 46,600 over budget, or as I have written, 46.6 thousand. Better said. The real estate was 32.4 thousand over our budget. EIT ended up $131.4 thousand over our budget. Deed transfer finished 168.2 thousand over budget, although November and December actually were $25,000 less than we estimated when we went through this at the 24 budget process. Interest income was 127,000 over budget. State pension aid was 57,000 over budget. Community center recreation revenues collectively were 74.6 thousand over budget, with annual programs and summer camp leading the way. Building permits and sewer connectivity fees had significant activity late in the year, turning an estimated negative budget variance into a $54,000 surplus over budget. Swimming pool revenue was the only significant negative variance at $58,000 under budget. On the expense side, operating expenses were 1.7% under budget, or $230,000 before unbudgeted transfers. Salaries and benefits, which represent 65% of expenses, was $7,000 under budget, or 0.1%. Very, very close. Even with unscheduled retirement and resignation buybacks, as well as over budget police overtime. Contracted services represents 24% of our operating expense budget and was $12,000 over budget, or 0.2%. There were several positive and negative variances that were reviewed during the 24 budget development process, such as $74,000 over budget for utilities, but in total budget was met. Commodities represents 8% of operating expense budget and was $267,000 below budget, or 20%. Salt, fuel, and sewage treatment supplies comprise the majority of those savings. Capital outlay represents 3% of operating expense budget and was $37,000 over budget, primarily related to the purchase of an emergency portable pump for environmental services. Transfers and debt was $673,000 over budget, which included the transfers of $600,000 to capital improvement and capital equipment reserve, which was approved in December in anticipation of the budget surplus, and $50,000 over budget for interest expense on our 2023 trend. It cost us more than we expected last year. Bottom line, with over budget revenues and under budget expenses, the general fund ended the year with a $190,000 surplus, even after the unbudgeted transfers. That increases the general fund year-end balance to approximately $1 million. Capital equipment reserve and emergency reserve balances are also healthy at approximately $950,000. The township is in a solid financial position while continuing to provide and expand services and assets to the community. And thanks to Chris for leaving us in that position. On the stormwater management, just a couple of items here. Stormwater management revenues were $169,000 under budget. Collection of the stormwater management fees for 2023 was $75,000 over budget, and interest income was $75,000 over budget. However, grant revenues were $312,000 below budget, which is more of a timing issue related to the Sample Wildwood Retention Pond project, which is still in progress. Stormwater expenses were $567,000 below budget, largely attributed to the Sample Wildwood Retention Pond project continuing into 2024, and that was $378,000 under the budget. Fountainwood Windstream Drive projects were $100,000 under budget and are basically completed. Stormwater-related demolitions were $47,000 under budget. Community Park Pond Phase 1 project was $23,000 under budget. Slip lining repair to existing storm sewers was actually $56,000 over budget, the only one that was really over. Overall expenses were $165,000 more than revenues, which resulted in a slight decrease in the fund balance, which has been carried over and included in the 2024 budget, if you recall. With that, if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but Township's in a very solid financial position, and thanks to all of the department heads and managers in controlling, especially on the expense side, and being very mindful of the township. Thank you.
All right, did anyone have any questions? All right, thank you, Jerry. Information Technology Monthly Report, anything to add? All right, and the library report was not in the packet this time. However, we just had our board meeting last night. Only a few things to note. The library is hiring for a part-time customer service representative, and they have had several inquiries. Carpet renovations took place last month, so if you haven't been to the library recently, go check it out. And on February 3rd, the library is going to be holding their Super Bowl event, which is a soup competition. It's a wonderful event, particularly if soup happens to be your favorite food. So please consider attending. And with that, if no one has any questions, we'll move on to public safety.
Okay. As council's aware, Sergeant Kurt Rupp is going to retire in March, and we will have a full-time position open, and we have Tom Adams, who has been a part-time officer, and he is the best qualified, and I am recommending that he be moved into that full-time position to fill that vacancy. And as you can see, Sergeant Halley is here to represent the department. The rest of the guys are tied up on an accident down on Route 8 near Clearview Road, and I believe they're probably still cleaning that up. Yeah, so they would be here to show support.
All right, does anyone have any questions? Then can I get a motion to promote Thomas Adams to the position of full-time police officer effective January 29th, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Fritsch?
Favor.
Mr. Midgley?
Favor.
Mr. Sholey?
Favor.
Ms. Blackburn?
Favor.
Dr. Johnson?
Favor. Assume you want to get some pictures.
Gave him a badge a couple months ago.
He doesn't get a new badge.
No, unless you want to promote him to sergeant or something. Maybe next one.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. All right, monthly report.
I have nothing unless there are questions from council.
Does not look like it. All right, your report.
Sorry, Sergeant Halley was distracting me.
No worries.
He left, so I'll blame it on him. Thank you very much. So I'm going to take just a tad bit more time tonight if I could, not very long, but for our new council persons. This is a report that I provide every month, and just a little bit of a description of what it is. First page is the calls we did for the year and past years by community, and how many of those patients we transported, how many we didn't. We finished at Hampton with a total of 1,554 calls for the year. That's a decrease of 44 versus the previous year. For December, we did 133 calls, which is 22 calls less than the previous month, previous December, I'm sorry. We also started at the very end of 2022 a transport division to support the finance of the organization. For our first full year of operation there, we did 1,354 transports. That's primarily moving patients from hospitals, nursing homes, and inter-hospital transfers and so forth. For the year, the service finished with 6,442 calls. It's an increase of 1,351 calls, all revolving around the transport business. And we transported 4,592 patients, an increase of 1,126. The second page just shows what communities our calls occurred in. You'll notice that some of the cities are highlighted in blue. Those are the ones that are predominantly non-emergency transport business, and the rest are where we get to mutual aid calls and so forth to assist other ambulance services and what happened with those patients, the outcome of them. The third shows the outcome or the breakdown of calls by hour of the day. So you can see what the calls are and what communities and kind of how that peaks and doesn't during different times. And then last is something we talk about from time to time that shows our response times to high priority calls. E0s being the most serious calls we respond to, and E1s being the next level down. So we really look at those times a lot, especially when we see that we had a call in Hampton that had a 16-minute response time for an E0. So I go and look at that call, and when I found out from that it was a psychiatric-related call, we responded to it immediately. We staged until the police officers arrived on scene, deemed the scene safe, and then responded in. Sat on standby for about 10 minutes for that process to play out. No detriment to the patient in the end, certainly important. And then the 13-minute response for the E1 was a medical call. It really was probably miscoded. It probably wasn't an E1. It was probably much lower, but it was a long response as far as distance, and it was also in the middle of the night with some bad weather. So it was a little slow, but again, to no patient detriment. Any questions about any of the data? Okay. A couple things as far as news goes. Was notified last week we applied for a grant through the GETTF, which is the gambling funds, and we were awarded a large portion of that grant for $118,000, and that is to support our firefighter rehabilitation program to enhance what we already do. So we now support 8 local fire departments with the consolidation here in Hampton Township, and anytime there's significant incident, we respond with them and provide assessment of firefighters in strenuous situations when they come out, make sure they're doing okay from a health perspective, and this is more tools to help us in that, especially in inclement weather. It's a large inflatable tent, heated and cooled for the most extremes of cold and heat and so forth, in an environment to assess those patients in, and means to move those things around. So we're excited about that. That's bringing about $1.5 million in grants we've received over the last 3 to 4 years. Also happy to talk about, you talked about the library report. I just stopped and talked to Susanna today and Sharon at the Shaler North Hills Library yesterday, and we have what we think is a first that we're going to start. We're going to start a CPR mannequin lending program through the libraries. We're going to have narrated direction by our staff. They'll be able to pull up the link, do that, take the mannequin home with them. We have these new mannequins that were, if you do CPR correctly, shows the blood flow to the head, and we will take care of maintaining those when they come back and so forth. And it's really possible to do that now because of hands-only CPR. We really hope that's going to be a family activity for people to learn together. and do it in the comfort of their own home. So we're looking forward to getting that started very, very soon. Last but not least, I'd like to say congratulations, welcome to our 2 new council persons, and look forward to working together. Certainly to Ryan in his new role. We've had the opportunity to sit down a couple of times already and talk about my favorite subject, which is EMS and what we do here. And I appreciate his time and energy to that attention. And then last but not least, I have to say thanks to Chris Lochner. You know, we've been in this room before. We've come in and brought our patients in that have had amazing outcomes. And I feel very, very comfortable tonight saying that we've had a chance to bring people into this room and other places that wouldn't be alive today if not for the vision of seeing a high-quality EMS service for this community. And I want to say thanks to him for that, very much so. And unless there's any questions, that's my report.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, I was gonna see if Officer Adams wanted to get pictures with his family before they left. I'm sorry, Officer Adams, I should have given you a chance to have pictures taken with your family. If you'd like a moment, please do so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we certainly understand the little ones wanting to leave. All right, moving on to community services, please.
I have nothing else to add unless you have questions.
Does not appear so. Thank you. All right, environmental services.
Thank you, Madam President. This evening, we're recommending advertising for the ordinance establishing the tap-in fee and connection charges for sanitary sewer pursuant to the Municipal Authorities Act, and establishing a public hearing date for consideration of said ordinance. Rob Horvat of KLH Engineers is here with us this evening to answer any questions you may have regarding this.
So I passed out a memo to everybody before the meeting, so I'll take a few minutes and just kind of go through that with you. As Jim indicated, Municipal Authorities Act gives you the ability to charge tap fees to recover costs of monies already invested to the system by current customers. The last time your tapping fee was calculated was 2005, and it is currently at $2,865. That was the last time it was adjusted. I want to say off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly what it was. I think that was an adjustment of about $600, about a $600 increase the last time it was adjusted. And again, it was pushing 20 years ago now, so it's definitely time to do this. There are there's a few components of the fee. The first would be the connection fee. That is the cost for your staff to create the connection to the public sewer, and the cost of the portion of the customer service from the main to the property line. The second portion, the customer facility fee, is from the property line to the residents. In your case, you don't include any reimbursement for that to a customer. So in your case, for your tapping fee calculation, that's zero. The tapping fee itself consists of 4 items: the capacity part, the distribution or collection part, and the special purpose part. Again, the special purpose part is if you would create a special tap district, which currently you do not have any, so that's, once again, that's a zero. And then the reimbursement part, that would be in a situation where you have a developer, again, kind of you're reimbursing the developer's costs. Again, you currently don't anticipate having any of those. So again, that portion of the tap fee calculation is also zero. So bouncing down, so basically it comes down to the connection component, the capacity component, and the collector component. The collector component, the distribution or collector part is that's the part of your system that kind of gathers the collection system, gathers the flow from all the individual residences, kind of pulls it together. The capacity component A is your treatment. Component B are your pump stations, your interceptor stores. the main trunk line sewers that carry the flow to the plant. Based upon the calculation, your total allowable tapping fee at this time is $5,477.80. On the recommendations below, at the bottom of the memo, we're recommending that you consider the maximum allowable tapping fee, say round that down to $5,400, which is pretty consistent with what you did last time around, as far as what you were allowed to do and what you actually did. Actually, I think last time your allowable was like $28.65.77, so you rounded it just down to $28.65. Probably be a little bit more conservative than that and take it down to $5,400. The other thing you want to consider is if you have anything that's currently in planning module, like you have a development that's already submitted a planning module for approval, perhaps you kind of grandfather those folks with the old tapping fee rather than hitting them with a new tapping fee at this time. I don't know if you have anything in that phase right now or not. Jim, do you know off the top of your head?
Nothing that's not already underway.
Okay. The other thing I didn't put on the memo, generally speaking, we should be doing this about every 5 years. The one thing that skews what we're doing right now, particularly with that capacity component A that covers the plant, you have a lot of debt service right now. And that debt isn't counted towards that number. So as you pay down the debt, that value is going to increase, and that component of the tap fee, as your customer base pays that debt back, will increase accordingly. So something to think about as we move forward. We probably want to look at this about every 5 years. So the report is issued in draft format until I get some direction from you folks as far as what the numbers are, as far as what we're going to plug in. And then I believe we'll work together with Vince and his folks as far as putting together the ordinance, so it's all ready to go. But again, we need that. We need a number to plug in. So.
All right. I know I finally found the question. When you originally issued the draft report, I had a question because the report stated that change orders were not included in the calculations, which did concern me because we had the one very large change order.
Currently they're not, but again,
They're within the contingency of the debt, so they sort of are calculated in.
right, and again, you have that debt service component that's already in there. That money hasn't necessarily been spent. And to simplify the calculation, we backed out the existing plant from the calculation, so we show the construction costs for the new plant without the change orders.
Okay. And your statement that we should be revising this every 5 years, I think, handles my other question, which was that do we need to recalculate the tapping fee if we end up either significantly under budget, hopefully not over budget, on the construction? And I would assume that is a yes.
Yeah, you should probably at least look at it.
Okay. Did anyone else have any questions?
Does DEP have to review and approve? So this is just totally a local decision?
Yeah. There's guidance in the Municipal Authorities Act that gives the guidelines and the parameters by which we calculate and do these calculations. So that's.
Do you know how this compares to surrounding municipalities like Mars or Pine Richland?
Honestly, I don't know. I know I just did one of these for Findlay Township Municipal Authority, and I want to say the sewage component was comparable. It was a little bit more actually. I think it was about 6,200. But again, it's not a near community.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, we need to have a public hearing for this, correct? All right, do we have a suggested date for that public hearing?
Thinking the next work session on the 14th. Probably get the advertisement in. We could do the 28th as either one. I think we still have, we would have enough time for the 14th, would we not? Or, okay, probably not. Then I'll tell you what, it'll be the 28th. The council meeting on the 28th of February.
All right, then if there's no other questions, Can I get a motion to advertise an ordinance adjusting the township's sewer tap-in fees and connection charges pursuant to the Municipal Authority Act and to establish a public hearing date of February 28th, 2024 for consideration of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Midgley?
Favor.
Mr. Sholey?
Favor.
Ms. Blackburn?
Favor.
Ms. Fritsch?
Favor.
Dr. Johnson?
Favor.
So would you
Question.
recommend that I
Do you-
continue?
Do you need the proposed rates for the public hearing?
I would assume so.
Should I
Is
then
everyone
go-
okay with the proposed rates that are in the report, in the memo?
I think you need a motion for that to go into the
Okay.
ordinance.
Do we need a motion to add it to the agenda since it's a financial item?
No, I think you're fine.
Okay.
It's part and parcel of what you're.
All right, does anyone have any concerns with the tapping fees as calculated in the memorandum from January 24th?
I have a question for clarification. When it says the maximum allowable tapping fee of $5,400, so you're saying you're going to put it at $5,400? I mean, you could be read that you could choose anything between $2,800 and $5,400, right?
You could choose anything up to $5,477.80. It's again, complete, you're justified to charge up to that amount.
It'd be good to have that information about what neighboring municipalities do.
I can follow up with that, and you can always amend it. Like I said, I want to start putting together some information, or the ordinances and that type of thing, so.
And that's information we can have for you at the public hearing, you know, the surrounding rates, so that can go into, you know, whatever the final form, yeah.
Okay, so
Yes.
should we go ahead and advertise the ordinance with the proposed total allowable tapping fee that's in the memorandum with the understanding that we can amend it?
Well, okay. I still have a question.
Okay?
Okay, so we have a tap-in fee and a connection fee currently that we charge. I think the one's $147.50.
Correct, it's two components
Yeah.
that total to the.
Yeah,
20,
so what I'm looking for is knowing what those two components would be.
The connection component is gonna be for that top number, $1,400.24.
So the current $147.50
It's a tenfold increase.
would be going to the $1,400.
And understand that
But it is based
represents-
on the
that
actual
represents your
costs.
Actual costs, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So right now, you're recovering about a tenth of what you're spending every time
Okay.
somebody connects.
And then the capacities and the collectors then will
That all
become.
gets smushed together, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Rob, I don't want to say this. Is it just new developments or
Yes.
an existing
Any
home?
new customer.
Would this apply to any existing home if they
Correct.
dug something up?
And say you have we're talking about the car wash. You have a car wash, we're gonna calculate how many equivalent dwelling units that car wash represents, and then you'll charge that number of equivalent EDUs times this number will be their tap fee.
And then if there was a house right now that had a septic tank that wanted to tap in,
Right.
it would apply.
Correct. Any new customer.
All right, any other questions? All right, then can I get a motion to accept the recommendation for the total allowable tapping fee from the memorandum dated January 24th, 2024, with the understanding that we can amend that at the public hearing meeting, should we decide to do so?
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Sholey?
Favor.
Ms. Blackburn?
Favor.
Ms. Fritsch?
Favor.
Mr. Midgley?
Favor.
Dr. Johnson?
Favor.
And I will follow up with that information on some local tap fees, so you guys have that information. I'll get it to Ryan.
All right, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Monthly report?
I have nothing else to add. Is there questions about the report?
All right, sewer plant construction update report.
left a copy of the December 2023 and the January 2024 report at your places. Just real quick, with regard to the report itself in summary, we're about 533 days into well, as of January the 23rd, we were 533 days into the Mealy contract, which represents 51% of that contract. We're the same number of days in with Callista. Their contract is actually a little shorter, so we're 56% into that. That's important because of the fact that the faster we're able to complete the actual contract itself, the more we're able to save money on our backdoor side. In the report itself, I outlined some of the things that have been going on during the report period. A lot of it has been done by the electrical contractor, Callista, and I know you all endured a tour recently of the sewage treatment plant, and I
It was
congratulate
just
you
a
for
little
your
chilly.
bravery. There are some pictures of the snow that you endured in the report as well. Just one item that you should be aware of under issues of concern, and I wouldn't really consider it a concern. Myself and Rob have been working with Mealy with regard to the contract and how we handle retainage. In projects like this, once you reach 50% of the project's completion, and Mealy is very close to that at this particular point, they are able to make a request for a reduction in the retainage from 10% to 5%. Their argument is that they shouldn't be using their money to fund our projects, because technically the retainage is something that they've actually earned, but we're holding to make sure the project's complete correctly. We will work through that. We anticipate that there'll probably be some type of a mid-level settlement arrangement with them. This is at your discretion. You could say, no, we're not gonna, we're gonna hold the retainage. But we have a great working relationship with Mealy. I would hate to get into a situation where we're gonna, you know, put them in a position where they're gonna squeeze us, and I'd rather not be squeezed. That being the case, I would look for something like probably 7% in February, and then probably 5% in March, and then we'll step down. And then, by the way, what happens after that is every invoice that comes in, whatever the retainage is, it keeps going back up. But you just return it at the 50% mark. With that, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to address them. You'll be receiving this on a monthly basis. You'll be receiving it in person next month, because I have to be here for a reason. After that, in March, I think you're here. So we'll be kind of alternating back and forth.
All right, did anyone have any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify, we didn't deal with the snow, we dealt with the 40-mile-an-hour winds when we did our tour.
I can see why you got into Tankston.
Yes, so thank you to everyone who was able to join that tour. All right. Jim, anything else? All right, zoning and planning, please.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. The first item is the Bellaterra Vineyards conditional use. After the public hearing at the last meeting, I did visit the site, as I mentioned in my memo. There's not a lot of screening along the side from the gentleman who commented at the last meeting. So I did speak with the applicant. I asked if he would be willing to put some fencing along there, since we're already gonna have to screen the dumpster in that section. So he was open to that. I've included it with your conditions of approval. You know, at this point, everything is wrapped up, and there's really nothing else left for them to address. So I am recommending approval subject to those conditions. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? All right, then since there are no questions, can I get a motion to approve the conditional use application 23-06 for the Bellaterra Vineyards to operate a sit-down restaurant for table service at the existing Heartwood Wine Cave establishment at 3141 Hearts Run Road, contingent upon and subject to the conditions as outlined in the Land Use Administrator's memo dated January 18th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Blackburn?
Favor?
Ms. Fritsch?
Favor.
Mr. Midgley?
Favor.
Mr. Scholle?
Favor.
Dr. Johnson?
Favor.
Okay, and just one referral for the boards and commissions next month and come before council in March. So this would be for just across the street, the house that actually we had a fire at summer of last year. So that's been purchased. The gentleman who purchased it has been doing a good job renovating it to remove all that fire damage. He would like to subdivide the property and create a second buildable lot behind that. So this is a pretty simple application, it's just for that subdivision.
All right, any questions? Then can I get a motion to refer the 3036 McNeil Road simple subdivision application to the appropriate boards and commissions?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Fritsch?
Favor.
Mr. Midgley?
Favor.
Mr. Shuley?
Favor.
Ms. Blackburn?
Favor.
Dr. Johnson?
Favor.
Okay. I have nothing else to add to my report unless there's questions.
Doesn't appear so, so thank you. Old business.
There is none.
All right. New business. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to add? All right, well, I, for one, would like to thank Chris Lochner for his 37.5 years of service to the Township of Hampton. You've had an extraordinary career, and thanks to you and the staff that you've assembled, Hampton is an extraordinary place to live. So thank you. All right, does anyone else have anything they'd like to add? All right, then I will adjourn this evening's meeting. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight.
Hey, Rob.